Hello, you. I'm Laila Stancioff, your host, and welcome to the Find You podcast, From Sick of It to Simply You. Here, our guests will tell us about their transformational journey and challenges they have faced. You also learn tips and strategies on how to do it yourself. Ready for some inspiration? Let's start. In this episode, we will meet Irina Kaelin, a personal branding consultant and mindful career coach. And even more interesting, a digital nomad. How many of us have thought about just making our suitcase and traveling the world? Well, she's doing it, and she will tell us how. Hi, Irina. It's so nice to have you here.
Hey, Laila, nice to meet you. Thanks for the invite.
So, you are an interesting person. Would you say you're like a nomad?
Yeah, I always wanted to have this lifestyle when I'm moving around and discovering other cultures and other countries. And to be honest, I'm very proud to say that I made it a reality.
So you've lived in Tenerife, Malta, France, Italy, Romania. Did I miss anything?
You're correct. I usually am not the type that follows these trends like let's go there, let's do that, 35 countries. I'm trying to be a bit more mindful about my traveling. So in every place that I found something that can be similar to home, or if I can call it home in a way or another, I always return back to it. Firstly, because it took off this mental pressure of figuring everything and making plans all day long. And, it takes away the joy of actually discovering the place. So basically, I love this part where you can return and you can know exactly where to have your coffee, where to have your meals and everything. And secondly, because I always like to see myself evolving from one year to another. And I think by returning to these places, you actually see some kind of evolution because you get all these mental images with yourself in the past years and what you used to do when you came last time, for example. And a little life hack, I always try to book the same apartments as well. So it can be like a full immersive experience.
Yeah, my husband, he used to work like in sales and in banks, and he traveled a lot at some point, and he would always try to be like in the same hotel in the same room because then it felt more like home. At least it's the same place. So the
Exactly.
hotel people already knew him and everything.
Exactly. And it's
I think
such
he
a
has, sorry,
no,
yes?
tell me.
And he has also a similar mentality to you, I think, in terms of the not just be going around, going to multiple places, because he already lived in multiple continents, but he likes going to a place and staying there like 3 months. He doesn't like going for a week and just walking around. So I remember when
Yes.
we were trying to get pregnant, he had the idea that when you're on maternity leave, let's take a year out and be like living around and while the baby is small. And I'm like, you're absolutely insane. But
Well,
yeah,
that's
that's
a
kind of
great
his
idea.
idea. Yeah, to have like a long-term living 3 months somewhere in Asia,
Yes.
3 months somewhere
Mhm.
else, which
Yeah.
doesn't really happen. But it's a similar thing to what you said, like really stay
Mhm.
and feel the place.
And it's also sustainable, like yeah, I'm also doing it from an environmental perspective. So as I said, I really try to be mindful with the travels. And yeah, it's when I was living on the island, usually on islands things don't change that much. So it's this amazing feeling when you just return to the same place. You have the same vendors, the same people working on the same shops. The same shops are still existing for years and years, and everybody knows you when you come back 1 year later. It's like, hey Rina, what's up? Tell me what you have been doing in the last year. And when you're there, back in the same context, you feel like your brain goes into this freeze mode. Like, did we actually left? Did we actually leave? Sorry, did we leave the place? Or yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
mean by it? doing it with an environmental perspective, like green traveling or what?
Yeah, exactly. And the less you use planes, like the more it's safer for the environment. So it's just that's why I prefer to have these long stays, because I know like in maybe 4 or 5 months I use maybe 2 planes instead of 10. But it's just my perspective, and yeah, it's a world full of possibilities and everyone should travel as they please. I know a lot of people have business trips, so they can't really, choose this kind of eco-friendly alternatives. But yeah, it's like that. Evidently, if I can take the train between cities, when I was in France, I was taking the train, so not moving a lot by any plane or something. If I can take the train, I'll always do that. But yeah, given the fact that I love the island so much, it's kind of like hard, I have to take a plane.
There were two guys here from Latvia that they went by boat from Africa to Brazil to the Olympic Games, like rowing. It took 145 days.
Oh my God.
So there you go.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Your solution for your
Incredible. Like super sustainable.
super sustainable. Not sure if good for survival, but good for sustainability. Yeah, we're waiting very eagerly for the train to be ready. The connecting Latvia to Poland, because then we're able to get out of here in train and continue the trip. We're really waiting for that. But tell me how it all started, because I mean, I think a lot of people think of, oh, so cool. Some people are able to be like digital nomads and just go around. And how do you even do it? And I think people are either afraid, they have no idea how to start. I know I would be afraid of being very uncomfortable. Like,
Well,
am I gonna
it's a
feel
scary
like I have
process.
space?
Yeah, it's a scary process, but the good part is that like your fears are like so much bigger than what actually happens there. You find a lot of support. And I have this little quote that says, travel alone and you'll never be alone. And it's very, very true. So it all started. I mean, I always, as I mentioned in the beginning, I always wanted to have this lifestyle. So I tried to bring it into my life. I was having a mental picture with me at all times. How would it be, to just carry my laptop here and there? And then it was funny because I was living in the same apartment in Bucharest. I was living in Bucharest for 11 years. I was staying with my friend, and then after 5 years of living together, I moved alone. And so I started redecorating the apartment and everything to make it a more cozy place for myself in order to live for more years. And something strange happened. Like the moment I put the last object, like the last decoration into its place after I redecorated the whole apartment, something inside of me just said, okay, your mission here is done. Like I literally heard a voice in my head saying, okay, you're done here. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just getting started. So in a few months after that, I just, I was talking with my managers at that time. I was having a job that I could like perform from home. So I said, like, I have this call to just go abroad. I'm doing my job really well. So yeah, this is my wish. I really want to go abroad and travel from there. If I'm not doing a good job, like we'll rediscuss it. But right now I just wanna, it just came. It just came. And they said, yeah, sure, you're doing a great job. Go for it. And this is how I started. I kept my apartment in Bucharest for the few months when I was traveling, but it was an enormous pressure to know that someone else is living there. You don't know exactly what that person is actually doing in your apartment. You have this stress, and I'm like, no, no. This is like I'm coming just to leave that apartment, and I'm gonna do this full time. I'm gonna, yeah.
Were you afraid of something in the beginning? And what did you do to go over it?
I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of, basically everything, of preparing everything, of from the tiniest detail to like losing papers. to, I don't know, like something happening to me there. Because my first destination was Tenerife, and I didn't even know why. It was just a calling. I didn't even see too many pictures with Tenerife. I think I saw a cactus. I saw like a cactus and a tag with Tenerife, and something inside me is, that's where we're going first, girl. And I'm like, how? Why? I didn't
Cactuses are
question.
very appealing,
Yes. No, not really. Like in
especially
my
the
home.
tiny ones. The big
Yes,
ones are scary.
in my hometown, we annually had like a little flower exhibition, and when I was in high school, every year I would go and see the exhibition and buy a little cactus for home, like yeah. So cactuses are definitely a go-to. And yeah, so I just left, I had all these fears, but like once I got there, I was so amazed by the beauty of what was happening, that I think all my fears started slowly to crumble away. They were still somehow in the background, but I was crying so often, and I was way too busy being emotional about what I'm seeing by living so close to such a powerful force of nature, which is the ocean. And seeing so much beauty, basically, because I have been in a totally different landscape all my life, surrounded by, I don't know, maybe mountains, hills, trees, forests, this kind of thing. So basically going somewhere that has like volcanoes, cactuses, ocean. It was something. I was totally being a little child, enjoying everything and crying very, very often, because my brain couldn't even like understand that we are there and doing this. And yeah, this is our first trip as a digital nomad. It was very emotional.
I remember the first time I saw snow. I was like a 5-year-old running and jumping around and doing everything the kids do. So I think I can relate to the feeling.
That is exactly the same sensation. You cannot, you're feeling joy and some kind of nostalgia over something that you haven't lived yet, because you're living it now. It's a very strange feeling, but it's beautiful, and it connects you to like a deeper, I don't know, to a more authentic side of yourself. I think living there has made me feel for the first time in my life that I am enough, that I don't need to climb any success ladder, because having this raw nature next to me is the success ladder. I'm like, no, this is success in life for me, like being here, living this, being able to speak a foreign language, because I speak Spanish, but it's always better when I go there and hear it all the time. So being able to, yeah, to connect with people from other culture while speaking their language, and while, like being respectful towards their home in the best way that you can, is actually one of the best things. Yeah, it's to die for, or to live for. Yeah.
That's actually very beautiful, everything you said. And I can see how the ocean can turn that on you, because I
Yeah.
grew up next to the ocean in Rio in Brazil. So I remember whenever I was super tired and overwhelmed, I would just go to a place in Rio called Arpoador. So it's
Hmm.
basically a stone in the middle of two beaches. And as you're standing there, it's like you're sitting in the hands of God. There's just like huge waves all around. So it's
That is
really beautiful. The
amazing.
ocean is really beautiful.
That sounds amazing.
But tell me, what did you do to get over those fears? Let's say there's someone talking to you, you're having a coffee, and the person's saying, I really want to do it, but I'm terrified. Like, what do you say? How do you help this person be able to take the leap?
Well, of course, another motto of my life is feel the fear and do it anyway, because I think we are way too used to seeing fear as a bad emotion. But as I experienced so many feelings during my travels, and with the people I met, and with the experience I lived, I realized that it's all a big spectrum that needs to be felt and lived. Like fear is not bad. Fear is just there to manifest itself within you. Like, oh, hey, I'm there, and I don't necessarily want to take control over you, but if you let me, I will. This is the thing with every emotion, I think. And basically, yeah, what I did was I tried, if the fear was very, very big, I try to take mindful steps towards that direction, in the direction of the discomfort. But for example, if it wasn't that tragic, so to say, I would just do it and let my body just surrender to that emotion, to that fear, because it first of all, it didn't last that much. I mean, the fear is always when you're anxious before something happening, like it's the before feeling. When you're actually doing that, it's more like it starts to calm down, and you start to relax and realize that, hey, we're actually safe, we're actually okay. So yeah, surrender. Or if the fear is very, very big, take steps in that direction in your own time. And yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Fear is the before feeling. I really like that because
It is the before.
I often talk about when we need a change in life and we always feel like the whole sky is gonna fall over our heads. Do you know this Asterix and Obelix? No.
Yes.
So exact first time someone knows what I'm talking about. So they're
I know.
always like, the sky's gonna fall over our heads, and we have always that feeling before we make any big change in life. Like, I can't. And actually,
Yes.
once you do it, it's like, oh, world is still turning around, and nobody
Yes.
died. So
Yes.
that's
In 98% of the cases, the outcome is way better than you expected. In those 2% cases, things are just okay. Like, but most of the cases, it's better than you even imagine. It's really better. It's better, and the fear is just crumbling before your eyes. Yeah.
very nice. And then in terms of practicality, so you said you like going back to the same places, you try to book
Mhm.
the same
Yeah.
room, the same hotel. What else what do you carry with you? Do you take books? Do like you have one suitcase, multiple suitcases, one backpack?
I'm a
How
super
yeah.
minimalist person. When I started this process, I sold, donated, like I got rid of all my life, which wasn't like, I didn't have suitcases of clothes or something, but whatever was extra, I just gave it away. So basically now my whole life is in two big suitcases. But when I travel, I take like a small trolley and my backpack. um I am very organized, so I personally need to plan everything before, as best as possible. And I think this planning stage is very important for multiple purposes and reasons, because one is like you have a bit more time to search for accommodations that are actually affordable, or if even better, if you have like a skill, if you're like a photographer, or I don't know, you do some creative things. There are so many digital nomad groups where you can actually exchange your services for accommodation, or for a part of it, or pay less rent. So this is what I've been doing. I mean, it depends on the country, it depends on the context. I try to find like very good alternatives to connect with people that are resonating with my values. I wouldn't just go anywhere. But as you have the time to prepare, you can find all these opportunities. You can make a plan, you can write some messages beforehand and just send them out and wait for an answer. When it's rushed, you don't have this time to find the best alternatives for you. You just rush and you take everything that's available. And yeah, so planning ahead is very important. Secondly, uh, yeah, I like to be mindful with my money as well. So it's not that I don't know how to say, it's not that I don't like comfort, or I don't like paying money for my comfort, but I lived in such ways that I was buying, I don't know, local food from farmers and stuff like that. So for me, it's not, I don't like just throwing money out the window. So when it comes to luggage, I'm the same. I prefer to take strictly my necessities in a trolley and not pay for a huge, luggage if I'm not gonna stay for too long there. If I'm gonna stay for more than like 4 or 5 months, maybe. But now I'm going to Malta for 2 months, So I packed the trolley. Yeah, I packed the small trolley and my backpack. So you don't actually need that many things there. You really don't. I mean, yeah.
Do you go always to warm places?
Not necessarily. Like when I've been to France, it was not that hot, and I went to a little city near the mountains, so not necessarily. And my plan for this year is to visit Iceland. So yeah, so definitely, I am a sunny person. I love the sun and the warm weather, but I feel like I feel like this cold nature brings you back to some other senses. So each thing brings something out. Yeah,
So
it's
later you can
amazing.
share how does it work to have like winter coats in small luggage?
I
You know,
think
like how do you make that work?
I think putting as much as possible on you already when you're leaving. But yeah, I can totally, yeah, definitely. This is totally a great topic. Thanks for the idea, and I will come up with something for the next interview.
Yeah, what I usually do when it's a very cold place is to invest on having like the undershirt and
Yeah,
stockings, and this what changes, you know, because that's the
yeah.
easiest to carry and the smallest.
I think it's also important to have the like the wind jackets because they're really tiny. They're tiny, yeah. They're compact.
This was very, very interesting. I really like the way you look at all of it, and I think it's very inspiring.
Oh,
At
thank you.
some points in life, I did think about that. So it's funny because I did kind of have a feeling of being a nomad before when I was part of this religious organization, because like I lived in a house with a lot of people, but still literally I had two suitcases with my stuff.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
knew that I don't know how long I'm going to be living here. That didn't depend on me. So sometimes I did have this feeling of, yeah, I don't need extra. I get the things I need there. You know, you come to the house, everything's already there.
Yeah.
And but after I left and I came back to, you know, stable, normal in one place life, then I retrieve a lot of my, you know, stuff back from my parents. But it's very interesting, and yeah, I don't know. I hope this inspires other people to not be afraid and just do it, because there's so many possibilities, and especially when you're young and you still don't have kids, like now, no way I'm gonna do that. Um, they have to go to school. So, you
Yeah.
know, even if we fit somewhere in a small house, they still have to go to school. But yeah, I hope people take the opportunity to do it because it's such a good idea and you see so much. Do you ever get friends visiting you where you are?
Sometimes it happened, yeah. I had a friend coming over from Egypt to Tenerife, which was a very, very long flight,
Oh,
but it was magical. And um, when you also work on yourself, because I think this is very important, if you work on yourself enough, you're gonna attract the people that resonates with with your vibration, with your energy. And so during my travels, I met people that had like such a big amount of deepness inside of them. So we never connected actually superficially. And when you connect on a deeper level, there is no reason to not stay in touch. You know, you can be on different continents. Maybe you don't talk too often because we all have our lives, right? But like you're so deeply connected by what you talked when you were together, and what you experienced when you were together, that it's not just you know, like tiny chat, or yeah, it's more than that. And I think it's deeply rooted in your like friend system right now. So yeah, I
very nice.
think yes.
Well, so good luck in your next trip to Malta and
Thank you.
Iceland. Yeah. And thank
Yeah,
you very much for being in the show. This was very interesting, very different from the other episodes. So
thank
yeah,
thank you very
maybe I
much
go
for
visit you
inviting.
somewhere.
Thanks for inviting me, and I hope we'll meet in person. Maybe you'll take like a small vacation and ask me where I'm at, and you can join. Yeah, sure. Would love to have you there.
You just listened to the Find You podcast, from Sick of It to Simply You. It was wonderful to have you here. Stay tuned for the next episodes.